Hey everyone, my name is Justin. Welcome to the channel where my son and I take a look at games, classic and modern, and give our thoughts on how these games appeal to different generations.
Today we're taking a look at Trek to Yomi, a little action samurai story released in 2022 from Devolver Digital. This is a game we had been interested in when it launched, but never got around to playing it. So now that we have the time and the chance to play it, let's see how it measured up.
In this short, 5-hour-ish long story, Trek to Yomi follows Hiroki, who, as a young boy, sees his master die during a bandit raid on their village. He vows to protect the village and his master's daughter Aiko, who he then marries when they grow up. Flash forward, and now Hiroki and Aiko leave the town together, assisting local villages while the threat of bandit attacks grow. When a stranger arrives at the gate begging for help, Hiroki and his men rush to their aid, only to find it a diversion. Upon his return home, Hiroki finds his town burning and a man that killed his master at the head of the invasion.
The game takes a long trek through Yomi, the Japanese underworld, where Hiroki faces his personal demons and has to find harmony within himself to get the strength to return to the land of the living, vanquish his enemy, and lead his people. It's a straightforward narrative that doesn't involve many characters. Hiroki and Aiko are only the two characters outside of the Master, who's only in a few scenes, and Kaguru, the primary antagonist of the game.
Trek to Yomi plays just like an old-school beat-em-up. You move around various maps, fighting waves of nameless enemies.
The cool thing is there's different paths you can take. Sometimes you can see a group of enemies go around and drop a bridge or take out a dam and watch them get washed away.
Yeah, those are always fun. There's also some great swordplay. The movements are fast and fluid. I really appreciate that the enemies, for the most part, aren't damage sponges. Fights are over very quickly. A few times I ran into other swordsmen that I assumed were supposed to be like mini bosses. There were a few flurries of blocks, parries, and counter strikes that were all pretty cool.
Yeah, except when you fight those ghost guys.
Shades.
Whatever, they're just annoying. They teleport behind you at random. Sometimes I'd be full health and stamina, and I'd just get tired, sitting there hunched over, moving slow and unable to block, attack, or parry. You just wait to die, hope it wears off. It's super annoying, and made some deaths feel very cheap.
Yeah, that did happen far more often than I feel it should. There were also some instances of the environment hiding enemies, particularly one stretch where I was running along a balcony and suddenly started getting hit. I couldn't see the enemy because he was being obstructed by the railing and trees. It's frustrating, and it didn't happen often, but it was really annoying when it did.
There's almost no music in the game, but there are plenty of really good sound effects. Swords clashing, rain falling, buildings burning and collapsing. Sometimes you go stretches where all you hear is Hiroki's feet hitting the ground. It's really immersive and a neat experience. Most games have music constantly going, but this game lets the atmosphere be its own character.
The sound effects are really cool. I particularly appreciate the sword clashes. It's also aided by really good voice acting. There's an option for English, but I played the entire game in Japanese with English subtitles. I wanted the full experience. I did dabble a bit with the English voice acting, and it just didn't have the same feel.
It is hard to listen and read at the same time, though.
It can be, but that comes with years of being a nerd and liking anime. The graphics are where Trick to Yomi really shines, though. The game has this old, grainy black and white aesthetic that very much harkens back to the old samurai movies that I grew up loving. It's dark, too dark in some instances, but the attention to detail and artwork is fantastic. Some of the shots look straight out of an old movie.
If you say so, Dad. The black and white is cool, but I would have liked some color here and there. It just kind of blurred together a bit for me. And some areas felt like it dragged on. Like, enough illusions already. Can we just move on?
I can see that, but for me the style worked. I agree, some areas went on a bit longer than I'd like, but as a whole, I thought it was well paced. There were some instances, the fatigue for example, and some control issues that really went from difficult to unnecessarily frustrating. I'm all for a good challenge, but as you said, son, sometimes it just felt cheap.
I've never played a beat-em-up game like this before, and the samurai story was really cool. The art was great, the effects were cool. It was hard to follow sometimes with the subtitles, but I made it work. I really liked the sword fighting, but the difficulty was just really hard.
Rookie problems.
Seriously, Dad?
But I get it, bud. As we said, there were some instances that just felt unfair or cheap. It wasn't helped by the darkness. Sometimes I'd die to a trap or an enemy that I really couldn't see very well. Now, this could be a skill issue, or bad screens, or just old eyes. But I have to be honest, it dragged things down for me.
Sounds like an old man problem.
Hey, that's kind of fair.
Anyway, as much as I liked the sound effects, so much of the game, for good reasons I know, was filled with burning buildings and people crying in the background. While it fit the theme and the moment, it just kind of got annoying, and it made me want to turn the sound off. In the end, this really just wasn't my thing, and I'm going to give Trek to Yomi a 6.5 out of 10. It was much harder than I think it needed to be, or meant to be. The controls were wonky, and didn't feel like they were all that responsive. There were times where I would hit the button, and Hiroki didn't do what he was supposed to. That, and the lack of color, made it hard for me to really get into it.
Fair points, bud. I agree with you, and unfortunately, I'm also going to go 6.5 out of 10 myself. I think this is the first time we agreed on a score. I really, really love the art style of this game. I grew up loving old samurai flicks, and this took me right back. But for all the reasons you mentioned, it just didn't land.
So that's our thoughts on Trek to Yomi. Did you enjoy this short hack and slash adventure? Comment below and let us know. And as always, if you like our work, maybe support us with a like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks everyone.